Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are currently at the ISS, and we don't have a flight here right now. I just wanted to figure out where our next module was going to attach, and it is the International Docking Adapter, or IDA-2. And where that ends up going is right here. So what this essentially is it changes this docking port to another type of docking port, and I mean, we don't really have that many other types of docking port, right? We've got the large and the small docking port. We might just make this be like a shielded docking port or something like that. For the time being, let's hop on back. I just wanted to make sure what we had going on here. We're going to hop back to the Space Center, and we're going to launch ourselves a fancy new Falcon 9 here, and hopefully succeed in the recovery on a real mission. We've succeeded in the recovery pretty regularly on non-real missions, and we have a 0% chance recovery so far on real missions, which is, not great. But let's hop into the VAB. That is, of course, a me problem, not an engineering problem. It's perfectly possible to recover this thing. I just have to execute it, and I'll get better at that. So we're going to open this on up. The one thing that I think I should do is start our landing burn a little earlier. It'll be a little less fuel efficient, but I think that would be a good thing. So let's load up the Falcon 9. And we're going to need the International Docking Adapter. So, how are we going to do this, and how are we going to deploy it? Well, I'm thinking that we're going to deploy it by just constructing it. We should be able to move all of the parts I'm planning to use via Kerbal construction. So that'll be the idea. And we're going to grab a docking port junior that is going to attach to the station, right? So we're kind of building this in reverse. So if this is attached to the station, let's just put it here for now. Actually, it might be a little... Nope, don't do that. It might be a little bit cleaner to have this be, if I can grab the decoupler. I want to grab just the decoupler. There we go. Not the decoupler, the docking port. Okay, let's actually build this for now attached to this docking port, which of course that's a large docking port, which we can't do because it also doesn't have an attach point. Yeah, that's not going to work. Okay, so in that case, we're going to have to build it in reverse. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have a shielded docking port. Well, actually, that's a big shielded docking port. It needs to be a little one. I think we're going to have to just make it be a Clampetron docking port junior and just kind of pretend that it's a different docking port. Like a different design of docking port, right? So this is attached to the station. Okay, that's fine. What we can do then is we can just have a small, structural bit. Well, we need to have a docking port that attaches it here. A small structural bit, which could be something like just a octagonal strut. Something like that, and then a docking port up top. And this would be the, well, it doesn't actually matter which way we do it, but it would be something like this, where it would have one of these would be the international docking adapter, and one of them would be docking to the old style port. We'll have to just pretend that that's how it works, though. So this would be Falcon 9/IDA-2. Okay, we'll call that good. And I think we just launch this as it is right now. This is, of course, our new version of the Falcon 9 that has the launch stability enhancer, which should be, in theory, absolutely fine. We had no problems with it launching before. This will have crew in it. So we've got Jeb, Bill, Bob. That seems good. Let's put this out on the pad, and let's launch this thing. So, of course, we have to remember, these Falcon 9 flights, they're going to be pretty small in their number of, in the size of payload that they can bring. So these payloads are going to be significantly reduced in size. The large payloads are already up there. So, orbital altitude of, why does this reset back to 422? I want this to be at 300. We could skip circularization, but I don't think we need to. And we can set as target. Actually, skipping circularization is for the best here, now that I think about it. Okay, let's launch into plane of target, and we'll engage autopilot. Yeah, this jumps around a little bit, but it should be fine-ish, I think. I hope. So we've got about half an hour here till launch, now about 5 minutes, and all is looking good on that front. Once we come out of warp here, this will settle in and hopefully be a little bit less wacky. I don't think we're going to impact anything, but there's definitely some shifting around that happens as we warp. No doubt about that. Yeah, looks clear. Cool. So, of course, we're going to have to do our fancy switch and turn off these engines manually. MechJeb won't let us do that, at least with the default settings. There's probably a way to get it to work that way, but we'll just do it manually. It's absolutely fine. And off we go. We're going to be doing that here in about 60 seconds. So that seems absolutely fine. We'll just get ourselves a good amount of momentum in that time. Hopefully Apoapsis height will be at least like 120 would be ideal. To give us enough time to get this guy into a reasonable state and recover this. But that is a secondary mission, the recovery, to be clear. We'll see if it happens. If it does, great. If it doesn't, well, we tried. It does look like we might be going for a land landing on this particular route, and those are definitely spicier. There's no doubt about that. We'll just have to be careful with it. So 30-kilometer apoapsis right now. We've still got about another 20 seconds of burn time here until we cut our engines. So that is all relatively fine. 50-kilometer apoapsis. And we're angling for like 120, right? But we've only got about 10 seconds of burn time left here. Even if it's a little lower than that, that's okay. So I'm going to do this at 12 seconds. Okay, there we go. So about 110, that'll have to do. So I want to hop back over here. I want to put this into retrograde, but I doubt it'll actually do that. Okay. So that's just going to get into its attitude there. And we're going to bring this guy up to about a 300-kilometer orbit. And once this burn is finished, then we're going to recover this guy because it's going to be like 10 minutes until this gets to the apoapsis. So we'll have plenty of time at that point. So this seems like this system will work absolutely okay. We just need to get better at executing the actual landing. That's the real problem there. And if it's a water landing, great. If it isn't a water landing, well, things are tougher. No doubt about it. Land landings are going to be more complicated, but we'll see if we manage to pull them off. I'll just have to get better at it. That's all there is to it. So we can absolutely physics warp at this point, and I'm going to do so. Bring that up to 4x time acceleration. And we're about halfway to our target apoapsis, looking good. 170, 180, and that's just going to go faster and faster. We're now at 200, 210, 220, 230, and I'm taking us out of physics warp now. It's going quite quickly. 270, 280, 290, and fine-tuning that apoapsis, and looks good. So at this point, we can set ourselves up with a circularization. 1.1 degrees is close enough. We can adjust that a little bit, though. So if we wanted to do that, we can bring it down to about 0.2, and that seems good. So we'll align that to the node, but what we need to do right now, of course, is hop over to our first stage. So we're going to switch to that. We've got about 10 minutes until we arrive at the apoapsis, so this should be plenty of time. And this thing hasn't entered the atmosphere just yet, so that looks good. We want this to be over at retrograde, and it is heading that way. We'll enable our air brakes. How are we doing on electric charge? Looks fine. And we've got 12 seconds of burn time. So this is some interesting directionality. I do think that it's very likely that we are... Actually, we might be coming down in the water here. No. We are not going to come down in the water, I don't think. Well, maybe. Well, no. Because of the rotation of Kerbal underneath us. Maybe. We may want to do a bit of a burn to try to bring it down in the water. It's very close. But for the moment, I think that we're just going to align to retrograde here. Based on that trajectory, I'm not sure I see it happening. Okay. Well, a land landing is definitely spicier, and we'll see how it goes. I don't necessarily expect to nail this, but we'll see. So we should probably toggle our landing gear action group eventually, but not yet. I am going to pin this open, though. We'll just do that. Okay. So we're going to start up a re-entry burn at about 40 kilometers, as we have been doing, and we'll burn about 5 seconds of fuel there. So right now. Keeping about 7 seconds of fuel left in the tank. Ooh, we are drifting. Okay, we actually want to be at surface velocity minus. Okay, so I burned a little extra there. That seems fine. We are accelerating right now, but we're going to start slowing down pretty soon. Going to extend our landing legs after we've slowed down a fair amount, but this is definitely going to be a land landing, perhaps in the city, which is, you know, definitely what we want here. We want to be raining missiles on the city, absolutely. I'm going to extend these landing legs now. It's a little early, but I'm going to start our landing burn at about 1.5 kilometers this time to give us a little bit more time. So 5 kilometers up. 4. Well, now 4. 3. We're slowing down nicely. 2. 1.5. Commencing burn. Just keeping an eye on our speed here. Okay, letting it drift a bit. This is looking good. This is actually looking quite good. We need to get a little bit more. We overshot that a bit. And we did successfully land. Let's put this on kill rot. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. We're at a jaunty angle. We kind of landed on a hill, but that is what we're looking for. We have 1 second to burn time left with 79 meters per second, but that is a thing of beauty right there. Let's recover that. I don't think we're going to get we're not going to get the full amount for it, but I mean, that proves a land landing in a real flight. That is amazing right there. I'm very pleased with that. So that technique is spicy. There's no doubt about it. We don't have a lot of fuel to work with, and that was very close to going badly. But it didn't. And we'll get better at it going forward. So overall, I'm very pleased with that result. Now, of course, that's our secondary mission complete, and we need to do our primary mission. So we ended up recovering 33,000 from that. Excellent. That is fully half of the price of the rocket. So that's great. And now we're going to hop back in here. Our Falcon 9 is, of course, on a suborbital trajectory, and we're going to need to get that into orbit and complete our primary mission at this point. But I'm really pleased with a successful land landing there. Very, very pleased with that one. The fact that we only had 79 meters per second left is certainly spicy. But that proves that it can be done. And hopefully we can do it fairly regularly. I'll probably mess it up now and then for sure. But let's just warp on forward here and get this into its proper orbit. Cool. So we're going to burn this in about a minute here. 40 seconds. 30. 20. 10. And 3, 2, 1, 0. Mark. So this is going to change our inclination just that little bit as well, and pushing us up into orbit, which we officially now are. 150, 200, 250, and sure, this'll do. That is close enough. Yeah, this kind of ran off on us a little bit, but that's okay. How are we doing on that descending node? 0.2 degrees? Okay, sounds great. If we were to burn about at this periapsis, what would this look like for an intercept? Yeah, timing is definitely not good there, and we don't want to have any radial. I wanted to move when this was being done. Yeah, we're going to have to wait a couple of orbits, probably. But that's okay. Yeah, this is looking much better. So sometime around here, this is actually pretty close to the apoapsis as well. Relative speed of only 44.1 meters per second is quite good, actually. 10.8 kilometers. I mean, we can dial that in with corrective burn, and we're definitely going to want to be corrective burning towards target at first. With a relative speed of only 44.8 meters per second, that is really low. So let's just get into position here for this burn. That'll be in 2 hours and 20 minutes, and then we'll just arrive at the station here in not too long, actually. So about 2 hours of warp time here as we wait for a conjunction. Of course, we launched into plane, not into conjunction. You can do that with MechJeb, but I choose not to, because I do. Sometimes I want to do inclination changes, you know, sometimes I want to put a cut in the middle of it, and who knows. So I launch into plane instead, so we can control when our actual conjunction happens. So we are then going to, I mean, you can do that with launching into conjunction, you'll just have to wait a number. Wow! Okay, I'm playing really well today, I guess. 0.0 meters per second on that. Beautiful. Things are going very, very well thus far. I can't wait to break it as soon as we get up over this way. Well, for now, let's warp out over this way, and we are, of course, going to be getting ourselves into target notes. There we go. 11.5 kilometers, we need to be burning towards target here and doing a bit of a get closer burn. So what we want to do right about now is we can see that is the direction towards the station. This is the direction that we are moving. So we want to pull this node right on over, and I'm going to burn about here. And we're just going to bring that in 1.7 kilometers out. Okay. Half a kilometer out. That is perhaps an impact trajectory. Let's go to relative velocity minus. That is 0.0 kilometers, and that seems absolutely good. We're only at a relative speed of 79 kilometers, too, so there is that. Now, we're only about 12 kilometers out at this moment. We can absolutely warp in. And it's going to take us a little bit to get there at these velocities. So 8 kilometers, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Okay. We're about to load in the station, which of course means goodbye to our frame rate. And we're still moving at a relative speed of about 73 meters per second. Yes, goodbye frame rate indeed. This is now officially a slideshow. This is definitely going to need to be restarted. There's no doubt about that one. Yikes. Okay, let's warp in until we are about a kilometer away. Okay. I'm going to begin our deceleration burn about now, slowing us right on down to about 5 meters per second. So that's 10 and 5.9. We can bring it down a little further. That looks good. Okay, so this is the direction that we're traveling in right now. We obviously don't want this guy to impact the station when we eject him, which will be very soon. I mean, we could just dock up with it, but I kind of don't want to. In reality, this stage should have been jettisoned a while ago, but let's just warp forward a little bit and see what directionality we've got going on here. While we're in warp, it looks good, but if we come out of the warp... no. Okay. It seems fine. Beautiful. So we'll just bring this guy right on over. This is the Russian section here. We're not going to want to dock to the Russian section. Let's go ahead and jettison this. Actually, let's bring this down to a speed of 0 first, or down to like a speed of 1 or 2 meters per second. And let's just bring this down a bit, and then we'll jettison our second stage. Down to like, yeah, I think about 1 meter per second for the moment. We're not traveling in exactly the direction we want to go, but that's fine. Okay, so about here, and let's jettison that, which requires 2 initiations of the staging system. There we go. Of course, next stage is going to fire these thrusters, and we don't necessarily want that. But what we want to do is grab our docking... Wow, this frame rate is not great. Very not great. We want to grab our docking port, and our docking port is this one that I want to dock to. So we'll set that as our target. And I want to open up our shielded docking port here. So we'll open from here and control from here. And I want to bring us down with RCS. Well, more specifically, what I want to do is I want to give us a bunch of momentum in... Hang on. In this direction. What are you doing? Why are you facing here? Go to Killrot. Don't chase that relative velocity node. Okay. What are you doing? Be in Killrot, please. I just want to get us some momentum. In... I guess this direction? No. This direction. Okay. There we go. Now we have some momentum coming in. Excellent. It's not exactly the directionality that we want, but we can correct that a little bit later on. So just position this here, and let's just warp over to the other side of the station. Okay. Now we can get rid of that directionality, right? So I want to bring this speed on down. And I want to point at the target. So we know that we're going to need to bring this guy over this direction. Okay. I don't know where our velocity is. Ah, there it is. Excellent. Now that we know where our velocity is, we can bring it up. This frame rate is very special to work with. No doubt about that. But we should be able to bring this in without any real problems. So we'll just bring that up to about 1 meter per second for now. And we're currently traveling basically towards this docking port. So let's warp forward a little bit here. Getting a little closer. We're going to need to head out in this direction a smidge. So we can definitely do that. That will be this way. Okay. So just getting us a little bit of velocity in that direction. Okay. That looks decent. We still want to go that way, of course. And this guy should be completely safe. No impacting of the station going to be happening there. We're going to need to bring back this momentum fairly soon. And I'm going to start bringing it back, but we're not going to bring it fully back here. I just want to keep it on screen at this moment. Okay. This is looking pretty decent as far as directionality goes. I'm going to alter our rotation a bit. We're going to need to go, I think, slightly up, which is going to be in one of these directions. This way. Okay. So something about like that. And how far away are we right now? 16 meters? Sure. Looks pretty decent as we make our way on in. We're going to want to bring down that upward momentum pretty soon. So I'm doing that right now. And now our sideways momentum is going to want to come down. So let's just bring that in about here. And we're heading in towards the station. Although, I think we need a little bit more on that sideways momentum. So we're just going to head in about like this. Yeah, we're not quite exactly where I want to be. It's getting close. It's getting really close. Okay, more like now or so. Cool. In terms of verticality, do we need any more? I believe so, yes. So that is going to be this way. We'll just get ourselves slight verticality here. And we're just lining this up on multiple axes. Cool. This looks pretty decent. So let's bring that right on back, and we are heading towards target. This moves a lot on a single frame at this frame rate. No doubt about that. This frame rate makes things very spicy to work with, but that's okay. We'll reboot as soon as we get this done. Well, not reboot. We will restart the game for the next episode. No doubt about that. But we should have a pretty clear dock here. I think maybe a little bit more up to the upper direction here. I think we're just not quite in the right angling for this docking port. But something more along the lines of that should do. Looks decent. Coming in at 0.3 meters per second. How are we doing on this directionality? I think that's reasonably fine. We might be a little bit off in one of our directions, but I'm hoping docking forces will deal with it. Slightly too high, but we got there in the end. Docking forces did deal with it. Excellent. So we're docked up here. Frame rate is not pretty, but we will be restarting this shortly. In fact, right now, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we need to attach our adapter, and it goes right here. So that's very conveniently located. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Kintogan, Ali Lee, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.